This is the broadcast of Back Roads of Illinois. We are bringing latest agricultural news and markets update on Back Roads of Illinois. Bring you like inside of the markets and interview with people in the agricultural industry for farmers and ranchers in central Illinois and across the Midwest. Today's edition of Back Roads of Illinois. We were Central Illinois agriculture source, and in the Midwest alongside in Central Illinois agriculture, we were glad you're here on a Friday afternoon. This show powered by AgriGold for Central Illinois, your AgriGold reps Brett Lahr. He is your AgriGold reps for Central Illinois and Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Incorporated. I am your host, Cesar Delgado for Back Roads of Illinois. We are going to talk about the crop progress for this past growing season and the harvest season in central Iowa for right now. Here's Megan Anderson from Iowa State University Extension in Ames. You know that in northwest Iowa and southern Minnesota has been pretty wet and cooled conditions in northwest Iowa near Sioux City area. The Missouri River is being high from the rain and storms over the summer months. Some areas were wet to planting in northwest Iowa and southern Minnesota, South Dakota. This time is your agricultural news and markets update on Back Roads of Illinois, sponsored by AgriGold for Central Illinois. The Renewable Fuel Association President Jeff Cooper. He concerned about the 45Z models with the substantial full aviation for the airlines that some farmers aren't prepared for the taxes credit for corn farmers about their responses to the task of the 45Z. Also, Jeff Cooper is watching the cook oil from China on the jet fuel for major airlines in the country, especially with ethanol production. The Midwest have been a drought. We were watching for fire in the field, however, this week there was field fire in McLean County and Woodford County in central Illinois near Bloomington. The drier weather is perfect for the harvest progress in central Illinois. NOPA numbers were lower than previously years because of the world events in Middle East and trade deficit. Crude oil are high, especially in a tight supply in Israel. This been your agricultural news and markets update sponsored by AgriGold and Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Inc. We were coming back with Megan Anderson from Iowa State University. This is open bell numbers of the commodity markets from Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Inc. Corn futures are down at 5 to 10 cents. Soybean futures are down at 5 to 6 cents. Wheat futures are down at 8 to 9 cents. This is your livestock markets update sponsored by AgriGold. Cattle futures are up to 9 to 5 cents. Feeder cattle are up at 8 to 7 cents. Lean hogs are up at 4 to 5 cents. Crude oil are up at 7 to 8 cents per barrel. Dow Jones are up at 8 points. We were going to talk about the crop progress for this past growing season and the harvest season in central Iowa for right now. Here's Megan Anderson from Iowa State University Extension in Ames. Welcome to the show once again.
Thanks for having me.
What's your take on the growing season in central Iowa? Could you tell our listeners about this growing season?
Yeah, so this growing season started out a lot different than prior years. So we were substantially wetter after the start of the growing season, really through the end part of April and into May. And so we had crop that drowned out that we haven't seen happen in quite a few years. And weren't sure exactly what that was going to do to the crop. I was pretty nervous because corn was yellow early, things were really uneven. But we got really timely rainfall through the rest of the growing season and had a really mild July. And so this growing season actually turned out, I think, really, really well for corn. It seemed like we had perfect conditions to have not too many issues with pests and diseases. We got our weeds controlled pretty well through the season and really are harvesting a remarkable corn crop right now. Beans are pretty good, but I would say they're not quite as remarkable as the corn crop is.
How is the corn yields for in their field in your area of central Iowa in your Ames?
They vary, of course, depending on where you're located. So that the Ames area is in Story County, Iowa, and they actually received, I would say, more rainfall early, and then they didn't get as much rainfall late. And so Story County did have not quite as high yields as some I'm hearing from other areas, but I have heard from a couple of people that they're harvesting just remarkable crops on the order of over 250 bushel for the majority of their fields, which is just, I mean, it is amazing. But of course, there is variability in that, and so not everybody's harvesting a record crop right now. But overall, it's been quite good this year.
How about Des Moines? What do you recommend about the drainage like an event like that?
Well, unfortunately, it's really hard to plan for uh, huge flood events like that, right? There's not much that anybody can really do to mitigate that, except, there are conditions where upstream, if we have things like slower drainage of water off of fields and off of things like parking lots and things like that, we could certainly help mitigate a little bit of the flooding issue. But I think that those heavy rainfall events are really hard to plan for. I know, a lot of farmers have looked toward infield drainage, right? So doing more pattern tiling in crop fields to try to manage some of the moisture conditions in the field because of our somewhat poorly drained or sometimes very poorly drained soils that can be really productive when we get the water off of them. And so those kinds of things help manage moisture in the field, but of course they act as sort of a quick way for that water to get to waterways, which of course can affect downstream flooding. And so the water is always going to be a challenge. It never seems like we get just enough rainfall. We a lot of times deal with too much or too little, and not a lot of the happy medium.
Yes, it is a pretty sad situation in Northwest Iowa. Do you have any final thoughts or recap of our conversation about updating on crop progress in central Iowa?
Yeah, we've been really dry this fall, so crop harvest has happened. I think as fast as I have ever seen it happen. I've heard a lot of farmers tell me that this is the fastest they'll ever have their crop out of the field just because we've had no moisture. And so it really has been another remarkable growing season here in Iowa. Right now, I'm hoping for some rainfall. I think we all could use a little bit of moisture here. But we'll look forward to see what the growing season 2025 brings us next year.
Mm, mm, mm.
Thanks, Megan. Where people can find you for your consulting services in Central Iowa for the University Extension.
Yeah, we have a great website, crops.extension.iastate.edu, like education. That's a great place to find me and all my colleagues. And then I am available via phone or email. And so my cell phone number is 319-331-0058. People are welcome to reach out to me there. And then I'm also on Twitter or X at MJAnders1.
This is Megan Anderson from Iowa State University Extension on back roads of Illinois. Commodity Markets from Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Inc. January feeder cattle dollar plus 1.850, closing at $245.500. December live cattle dollar plus 1.150, closing at $187.325. December lean hogs dollar plus 150, closing at $77.825. December corn -2 single quote 0, closing at $4.04 single quote 6. January soybeans -15 single quote 2, closing at $9.82 single quote 6. December Chicago wheat -16 single quote 6, closing at $572 single quote 6. December KC wheat -15 single quote 2, closing at $5.80 single quote 6. Closing quotes provided by Kyle R. Bumstead Branch Office Manager Erickson, Nebraska Allendale, Incorporated. Thanks to our friends from Allendale for bringing the close numbers. Thanks to Megan Anderson from Iowa State University Extension. We're running out of time on our show, wherever you get your podcast. You've been listening to Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. Have a great weekend.